Immigration reform, another priority for the administration. You're going to see a series of executive orders. If they weren't signed yesterday, I think they'll be signed today, focused in on limiting who comes into the United States. I don't think there's going to be a wholesale attempt to go after some of the folks the President assisted during executive orders. In the last administration through executive order. That was a talk for a while. When it comes to immigration reform, I'll just keep it really basic. What Farm Bureau is focused on isn't the sexy stuff that everyone's going to talk about. It's not about citizenship. It's not about who gets in and who doesn't, and all of that type of stuff. Border enforcement is obviously important. We have a lot of policy on that, but our number one priority on immigration is to provide agriculture with a legal, sizable workforce. That is unbelievably important. And while that may not seem to be as big of a deal in states like Nebraska, where a lot of what we do is mechanized, anyone who has even a single employee can relate to the fact that finding a qualified person that will show up and do the work is extremely hard. And so magnify that on a scale when you need 200 people to come out and pick squash, a crop that you have to harvest by hand. And when you have 100-acre, 70-acre fields of squash, the number of people it takes to harvest those fields is astronomical. And again, think of magnifying how hard it is to find a qualified employee on your farms, and you get that to the scale of a produce facility, a produce farm. That definitely is a massive problem. And while you know, a vast majority of the employees that farmers in the states of California and Arizona and other places hire have documents, the validity of those documents is in question. And no one wants to break the law. You know, no farmer and rancher is looking to try to break the law when it comes to hiring workers. And so we want to try to develop a worker program that is feasible, that allows for workers to come over here and do the jobs that are necessary, that we are struggling to get filled locally. And so that is our top priority there. Really quick into trade, you know, we definitely are at odds with the administration on some things when it comes to trade. I think we are hopeful. You know, if he wants to start working on bilateral trade agreements, he signed an executive order pulling the United States out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We were definitely disappointed in that. You know, that was a big blow to us when you look at $378 million per year of unrealized gains in agricultural trade for the state of Nebraska. That was a big deal for us, and so we are prepared now to move forward. And if the President is willing to work on bilateral trade agreements with these countries, with Japan, with any of the other countries, any of the other 12 member nations of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we are prepared to do that. But we want to make sure that the President continues to try and look at those new opportunities and does not you know, ruin some of the trade relationships that we have already. It is a noble goal to try and get a better deal for us. There's a lot of talk of renegotiating NAFTA, and the President has already met with the leaders of Mexico and Canada and talking about this. But we ship an awful lot of beef and pork to Mexico and Canada, folks, and the loss of NAFTA would be a big deal. If you think prices are low now, just wait. So we're going to have to really see what, you know, we're not supportive of renegotiating these things, but if the President is dead set on doing that, agriculture needs to have a seat at the table to make sure that our interests are being looked at. The scary thing that we look at when it comes to trade and some of the President's rhetoric is when you start throwing the T word around, when you start throwing the word tariff around, agricultural products in any type of quote-unquote trade war seem to be the first things targeted. And so we need to make sure that we are protecting our interests as best we can. And I will tell you, Farm Bureau at the state level and at the national level definitely has been really involved in having those conversations with the Trump administration, and we are going to have a seat at the table as these things are discussed. So definitely something to pay attention there. The development of the Farm Bill is the last thing I'll very quickly talk about. Development has started. Senator Roberts, the chairman of the Senate Ag Committee, has already indicated that on February, I think it's 23rd, he's going to be hosting the first Senate field hearing on the next farm bill down in Manhattan, Kansas, and we'll definitely have some representation down there. And so, you know, development starts. We passed a pretty comprehensive bit of policy at the American Farm Bureau level, stuff that you all passed at our annual meeting, and things got edited and changed around a little bit. But a lot of what was passed at the American Farm Bureau level was really stuff that was developed in Nebraska again. We had a good impact last time when we had a wholesale rewrite of that policy section, and we did that again. And so stay tuned here. We'll talk a lot more about it soon and some developments we have there, and in terms of some ways you all can get involved in some events we're going to have. But obviously another important thing is protecting that agricultural safety net and make sure that we have a number of programs, a variety of programs available for producers in these tougher economic times. So that is it for me.